Dishonest, violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers describe the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious trafficking charges in a New York court.
Ray J isn't whispering behind closed doors anymore. He's broadcasting to the entire world, and this time, he's not rehashing the old tape saga. According to him, the so-called gatekeepers of the Kardashian empire, handpicked by Kris Jenner herself and once loyal to Diddy's payroll, have now taken control of the very machinery that made Diddy untouchable. The same evil empire, Ray J warns, that ran on blackmail, backroom deals, and party circuits powered by intimidation, now allegedly under new management. If you thought Kim Kardashian's rise was just a masterclass in reality TV self-promotion, Ray J is here to blow that theory out of the water. To him, this isn't about luck or viral moments. It's about a well-oiled system passing the torch from one controversial mogul to another. And Ray J claims to have receipts, evidence, he teases, that could send the FBI scrambling straight into the heart of Calabasas right after they finish packing up Diddy's last mansion.
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual about whom I wish to hear nothing after this trial is done.
While some would call that bluster, it's almost impossible to dismiss when we look at what's actually happening right now. The Diddy headlines aren't ancient history. They're still smoldering. Homeland Security, raiding mansions in Miami and LA, helicopters swirling over the roofs, and agents carting out file boxes and hard drives as neighbors peer through the hedges. It's not just Cassie Ventura's tear-stained testimony haunting the courtroom. She spent 4 days telling the world about freak-offs that dragged on for days, leaving her physically and emotionally battered. She swore on the stand that she would give back the entire $20 million Diddy paid to settle just to erase those humiliating nights from her life. And then came Deontay Nash, the celebrity stylist who spent a decade in Diddy's orbit, now in front of a judge describing how Diddy strangled him for trying to protect Cassie, how threats and psychological manipulation kept everyone silent, how every employee knew what the boss kept in his desk drawer, and how Diddy himself bragged that retaliation was only ever a phone call away. This isn't the stuff of wild gossip columns. These are federal charges, witness testimony, real raids, real trauma.
Then he was scooped up, and suddenly he was a part of people like Diddy going after him and saying, hey man, why don't you pick up my phone calls? There's actually a video of that. Diddy and Justin Bieber looks to be like 15 years old and said, why aren't you picking up my phone calls? And he's like, oh, I know you were trying to contact me through people and I don't have your number. And the next thing we know, Justin is at Diddy's parties.
And here's where Ray J's claims stop sounding like a scorned ex with a grudge and start to feel like one more piece of a very ugly puzzle. He says the Kardashians didn't just escape the orbit of Diddy's empire, they inherited it, along with all its dark mechanics. Suddenly, the timelines start to bleed into each other, and a decade-old memory becomes a smoking gun. Back in 2010, when Kim Kardashian was 29, she waded into the turquoise waters of the Bahamas with a 16-year-old Justin Bieber for that infamous Elle magazine shoot. If you haven't seen the pictures lately, trust us, it's a different experience when you look with today's eyes. Him lounging in sheer lingerie, soaked and sunlit, while Bieber, all baby cheeks and Bieber fever bangs, grins awkwardly for the camera, pretending to snap shots of her as she poses like she's on the cover of a Maxim calendar. They splash, they giggle, she struts, he's the eager apprentice with a camera. Back then, the world shrugged. Now that TikTok reel is getting dragged all over Reddit, with fans openly appalled. He looks 14. Who approved this? It's astonishing what celebrities can get away with. And another one, flat out, this is very disturbing. It's not even subtle. It's as if society finally realized the elephant's been in the room, holding the selfie stick the entire time.
Plus some videos that are surfacing of Justin Bieber at a Diddy party, and they are horrific. I'm talking truly and utterly.
We can't ignore that the Kardashians had every camera in the world pointed at them and still somehow managed to fly under the radar with images like these. When we look at the footage now, it isn't just awkward, it's predatory. A carefully engineered piece of harmless fun that would get any lesser celebrity thrown out of a network deal today. This isn't an isolated incident either. The same playbook turns up again, almost on cue, with Diddy's own now infamous clip featuring a teenage Bieber. There he is, Diddy, grinning like the king of after-parties, standing beside Justin and declaring to the camera that Usher had handed over custody of Bieber for 48 hours. Diddy promises we're gonna go full crazy. The video, long dismissed as showbiz bluster, is suddenly impossible to watch without wincing. It's resurfacing now, not just as a weird pop culture artifact, but as evidence. A time capsule from an era when these mega families and their handlers could parade teenagers across international waters and call it mentorship.
I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to find out what's really been going on in the background.
And now Diddy isn't just in hot water. He's in federal custody, fighting off charges of trafficking and conspiracy. That full, crazy line has aged about as well as a glass of milk on the LA tarmac. These connections don't need much help to feel sinister. For years, the Kardashians and Diddy ran parallel empires, spinning scandal into power, orbiting around the brightest and most vulnerable young stars, banking on our collective ability to shrug and move on. With Ray J painting the Kardashian transition as a kind of hostile takeover, one can't help but ask, is it really that wild to think these worlds weren't just adjacent but overlapping? If the machinery for controlling narratives, parties, and hush money was already built, who's to say it didn't simply get a new driver behind the wheel? Ray J certainly isn't mincing words. He's already called out the industry's rot and pointed the finger directly at Kris Jenner, alleging that the mastermind herself didn't just greenlight Kim's original tape, she literally chose which of 3 home movies would make the family famous. She watched all 3 and picked one like it was an album drop, Ray J claims, and the story only gets more twisted from there. In his more recent interviews, Ray J goes one step further, openly musing that without that choice, without the family's calculated embrace of public scandal, there might not even be an OnlyFans. Or a new generation of influencers cashing in on the same playbook. Probably more people would be going to college. There might not be any OnlyFans. He says half laughing, half bitter, as if he knows the punchline is only funny to people who already cashed their check.
Is he this gangster that behind the scenes is that him? Or is that
Shout out to Wendy Williams.
What we're seeing is the boiling over of a system that's been hiding in plain sight for years. Grooming culture dressed up as media mentorship, inappropriate dynamics normalized by camera flashes and clever editing, and a constant passing of the torch from one empire to the next. The FBI is now at the gates of both worlds, and Ray J is practically begging them to connect the dots he's laying out. It's no longer just about whose tape launched a reality TV dynasty. It's about whether the very same culture that birthed that scandal is about to come crashing down under the weight of the receipts, the raids, and the testimonies piling up faster than Diddy can call his lawyer. With Kris Jenner sitting at the center of the board, choosing track to drop, and the evidence threatening to make Calabasas the new epicenter of the next big investigation, we're left staring at the hinge of a much bigger question. Was this really the beginning of a culture built on grooming? And is that same machine about to get caught up in the hurricane blowing in from Diddy's crumbling empire?
Sean Diddy Combs is facing a new lawsuit just weeks before he's scheduled to be sentenced on related charges. Former stylist Deontay Nash accuses the disgraced music mogul of abuse.
We watch the story shift from glossy photo ops to the cold mechanics of lawsuits, settlements, and the ugly power that money really buys in Hollywood. Suddenly, every tabloid headline about a wild party or a questionable photo op feels like camouflage for what's actually being litigated in courtrooms right now. Cassie Ventura is no longer just Diddy's ex, or the star witness. She's the shattered proof that all the private jets, million-dollar settlements, and record deals can't erase what goes on behind the closed doors of these so-called empires. On the stand, Cassie's voice was so raw it seemed to echo through the marble corridors. She rejected every suggestion that her lawsuit was about cash, swearing she'd return the full $20 million Diddy paid her if it meant she could erase the memories of those infamous freak-offs. The kind of backroom sessions that, according to her testimony, lasted for days and left her humiliated, scarred, and almost erased as a human being. The numbers and the headlines start to look small next to that kind of pain.
So he outlines allegations of battery, assault, violence, physical and psychological abuse, labor trafficking, he says. And a lot of what Deontay Nash says in this complaint mirrors testimony that we heard during that trial, both from Nash and from others, like Sean Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who was a key witness.
But the headlines aren't done. The dominoes keep tumbling. We see Brianna Bongolan, a longtime friend of Cassie, testifying that Diddy dangled her from the railing of a 17th floor balcony, shouting accusations she didn't even understand. She was left with bruises, trauma, and a neck brace photographed for the jury, another line in a ledger of abuse that keeps growing. And then there's Deontay Nash, once just a stylist, now an accuser, who claims he was trapped in a dark world for a decade, groped, choked, chased at highway speeds, threatened and silenced, always with Diddy looming behind every door. Nash's lawsuit doesn't mince words about the intimidation and manipulation, the weapons kept close, the constant threat to anyone who broke the unspoken rules of the circle. One defense after another as the old guard tries to paint Cassie and Nash as willing participants, as if a little consent or a flirty text can excuse an entire decade of coercion and violence. It's a sick tug-of-war over who controls the narrative. One side waving NDs, the other dragging the ugliest receipts into the daylight. This is where Ray J's warning gets teeth. It's not just about tapes or viral scandals anymore. It's the collision of two machines built for one thing: control. Diddy's legal team is now publicly begging for a sentence that won't leave him in prison for the rest of his life, calling the conditions inhumane, painting a picture of a once invincible mogul brought low by the very system he once outwitted. The courtroom drama is pure spectacle. Diddy's lawyers describing maggots in his food, guards waking him up every 2 hours, his career in ruins, his fortune stripped, his children facing lost opportunities. They want sympathy, arguing that he's already adequately punished. Prosecutors, meanwhile, aren't having it. They want him locked up for years, making sure the message is loud and clear. This isn't just a witch hunt. It's the reckoning for a lifetime of crossing lines and daring the world to stop him.
If he gets 14 months, if the defense gets what they want, he'd essentially get out October 3rd because
he's been in for
13
a year,
months, and you get 15% credit for time served. So he'd basically be out after the sentence, and then he'd be on supervised release.
And the world has stopped him. Hulu ripped up his family reality show contract before the ink could dry. Howard University sent back his donation checks and revoked his honorary degree. Schools, brands, every tentacle of the Diddy empire is being lopped off as soon as the subpoenas land. The chilling part? Ray J claims that this isn't the collapse of the whole machine, just the handover. He suggests that while Diddy's world is collapsing in public, the Kardashian apparatus is humming along, protected by a PR fortress and a network of gatekeepers who learned from the very best. If Ray J's theory is right, this isn't about individual scandals, but about who gets to keep playing the game when the spotlight turns toxic. Are the Kardashians just beneficiaries of a broken system, or have they inherited the levers of control that keep everyone else in check? Kim Kardashian, for her part, is still perfecting the art of being seen. Her latest public outing, supposedly about prison reform and justice, keep boomeranging back into the news for all the wrong reasons. The metallic leather dress at a prison reform event, so tight and shiny it looked like she'd just walked off the runway and onto the yard, drew immediate fire. Social media called it inappropriate, not just for its cut, but for the tone deafness of a billionaire centering her own brand in a space meant for the formerly incarcerated. And the now viral selfie with a group of ex-inmates, Kim front and center, duck lips at the ready, looking more like she's on a Skims campaign than in a room with men who'd survived decades behind bars. The comments section lit up with accusations of immaturity and disrespect. She really needs to grow up. It's very unprofessional. It's not assault, it's not trafficking, but it's the kind of narcissistic spectacle that tells us exactly who's really in control of the room, no matter what the headlines are about.
And what I sensed from those public emotional breakdowns, and only public obviously because the press was following him, was that he was coming to terms with the fact that he had been engaged in darkness unwillingly. And Justin Bieber probably has a lot of shame about that. He probably feels shame, first and foremost, as a man,
There's another layer that's harder to pin down, but no less chilling. The psychological toll on those who spent their formative years orbiting these supernovas of celebrity influence. Justin Bieber, once the golden child shuffled between Diddy's penthouses and Kardashian beach shoots, has become a phantom in his own narrative. Now an adult, he only surfaces through carefully curated Instagram montages with Hailey, their romance parsed endlessly by fans desperate for proof of stability or disaster. Kim pops up in the comments with bland messages of support, always present but never specific, as if maintaining her proximity to Bieber is itself a silent flex of power. But through all the Diddy raids, the old viral clips, and the headlines about past custody weekends, Bieber himself maintains a haunting silence. No comment, no memoir, no attempt to reframe the story that unfolded around him while he was still too young to vote. We have to ask what it means when the very people who were most exposed to this grooming culture, the ones Ray J paints as collateral in the empire's construction, disappear behind a wall of silence rather than speaking out. Bieber's early years were lived in the blinding glare of paparazzi flashes and mentors who blurred the line between parental figure and business handler. Every move was orchestrated for maximum media exposure, from beachside photo shoots with reality stars to late-night parties with music moguls. If there's trauma there, it never gets spoken aloud. If there's gratitude or resentment, it's buried beneath endorsements, streaming numbers, and the next digital drop. The machinery that Ray J describes didn't just exploit scandals. It molded identities, shaped narratives, and conditioned its young stars to understand that silence is sometimes the only way to survive.
And what I will say is that this very much fits the narrative. You know, we saw tons of videos of Justin Bieber. When he got together with Hailey, he was crying a lot outside of churches. He was finding his way back to God, but he was having a lot of emotional breakdown.
We're left staring at the eerie reality of an industry that grooms not just bodies, but psyches, where the next generation of pop royalty is raised inside a hall of mirrors, built by older, more powerful hands. Bieber's silence isn't an admission or a denial, it's a symptom of a culture that polices its own secrets through fear, loyalty, and non-disclosure agreements with more legalese than affection. In a landscape where even casual Instagram comments become tabloid fodder, his refusal to engage with the shadow side of his own rise feels like both a shield and a warning. It's another piece of the legacy Ray J is describing. A system where, sometimes, the only thing more dangerous than speaking out is saying nothing at all.
That is worth is 14 months in prison and then supervised release for some period.
The irony is almost too rich. While Diddy is facing a federal reckoning for the ways he allegedly used and abused his power, Kim is angling herself as the face of justice reform, building a new wing on her image that's supposed to be all about advocacy and giving back. Meanwhile, the machinery that powered Diddy's parties, his blackmail files, and his social leverage may well have just been rebranded. Same gears, new logo, same old silence. From the insiders who know too much. The question isn't whether there's still a dark network running under Hollywood's surface, it's whether it ever really changed hands at all. Every time a new lawsuit drops, every time a new witness testifies, the pressure mounts. And Ray J's allegations, as wild as they sound, just get harder to wave away. He's not done talking either. The latest tease is that he's already leaking documents and footage from the action. Evidence, he claims, will blow the roof off the cozy arrangement between the old guard and the new one. If he's to be believed, what we've seen so far, the raids, the arrests, the lawsuits, is just a preview. The FBI is reportedly already sniffing around, and Ray J seems all too eager to hand them the keys. None of this has been proven, the legal teams are denying everything, but the timing is uncanny. Diddy sitting in a cell, Cassie in tears, Nash filing lawsuits, and the Kardashians curiously quiet, letting their PR teams do the heavy lifting, while the tabloids circle like sharks.
If the defense in the Diddy case gets its way, Diddy could be a free man next month.
Now we're left staring at the abyss, asking the only question that really matters. If Ray J is telling the truth, if this empire has simply changed hands, are we about to see an even bigger scandal break wide open? Are the raids on Diddy's mansions just the beginning? And is the real power in Hollywood more untouchable than ever? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one Hollywood story nobody wants to tell, but nobody can look away from. Stay curious, stay bold, and we'll be back with the next chapter, if the gatekeepers let us. Until then, watch your feeds, because this empire's secrets might not stay buried for long.